Hi, this is Anne-Marie Paquette with the Mosby Heritage Area, and right now I'm standing in the St. James Cemetery here in Leesburg, Virginia. Again, a wonderful stop if you're walking around downtown or if you'd like to participate remotely. You can hear someone is doing housework with a hammer right now, so I hope everyone is enjoying that as much as we are. So the St. James Episcopal Church was originally built probably sometime in the 1770s. They had a longer lasting structure that was here from 1812 to about 1897 that has since moved to another part of town. So right now this cemetery looks rather unusual. We're ringed in by town buildings, a courthouse complex, a parking lot, and then also some residential structures as well. But at one time, this was a religious hub in the center of Leesburg, especially because the Episcopal Church, the Anglican Church, was the official church of the community leading up to the Revolutionary War. And so here in this cemetery, we have a lot of leading community members from the late 18th and then the 19th centuries as well. And one of the stories that I most love to tell is actually about a resident of Leesburg who is buried here in the St. James Cemetery, and that is, of course, Mary Lack. So Mary, or Molly Lack, was born here in Leesburg. She was the only child of William Lack and Mary Lack. And she had a very interesting and very heartwarming story. She met one of the young gentlemen from the 18th Mississippi who was wintering here during the winter of 1861 into 1862. Now, a lot of those soldiers came into town to go to church services, but also to meet the young ladies and to flirt with the young women. And so we had young women from town also visiting the encampments to see the young men on dress parade. And so we had a lot of connections being built from these different communities, these individuals that otherwise probably never would have met each other. So Mary Lack ends up meeting and falling in love with young Tommy McGee from the 18th Mississippi, and she begins to write in her diary about meeting him and seeing him, and she writes during the winter time that she has no greater desire than to see him the next time. They do exchange valentines as well on Valentine's Day of 1862, and then of course in early March the Confederate troops march away out of town as John Gary's Federals are going to move into this area. Molly Lack writes that her own Tommy McGee was crying fit to burst when he said that he had to leave her, but they promised that they would try to see each other again. And indeed, they did meet one more time, as we were talking about when Robert E. Lee comes into town with the Army of Northern Virginia on his way north to Maryland. The Mississippians are with them. And so one last time in September of 1862, Molly Lack gets to visit her Tommy McGee, and they exchange, how much they love each other, and he even promises himself to her in what is really a Victorian proposal. So they're building plans for the future, even in the midst of this terrible war. Sadly, they were not destined to be together because Molly Lack actually passes away before the end of the war. She dies of consumption. Tommy McGee also disappears to history. He deserts the Southern Army in February of 1865, and we are not sure what happens to him after that. And in fact, if it weren't for Molly Lack, we would not have any records of Tommy McGee's words or his thoughts or his feelings. But thanks to Molly and the diary that she kept, we do have a record of who Tommy really was. And who he was a boy, and a boy who, was in love with this girl from Leesburg. And I just think that's such a touching story, and one that I always remember when I'm passing by this area and when I'm passing by St. James Cemetery. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about this area, about this cemetery here, and I hope you all have a chance to visit again. Regardless, we will be bringing new content to you every day, and we hope to see you on the internet.